Am I live? hang on. I've got to sort my life out a bit first. Let's see if that comes down to where I am. I'm sure it will. I'll leave that for a second. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure you're just followed a bunch of you on Patriots. Holly England, how you doing, son? Right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hit the like button. Even if you're watching on catch up, it's helpful. Please subscribe. My hearing aid's gone off again. Please subscribe and share as much as you can. So, for you wonderful people that are tuning in tonight, wondering where did he go last night? I was out all day doing some driving and helping someone else. One's permanently disabled and the other one is on their way there because they can't walk properly and can't drive a car. So I was driving down to Exeter to look at different vehicles. They're looking for a particular type of vehicle, and I think they've now settled on a Citroen Berlingo, right? But they got to find one. Some of the places that they've been looking, which is main dealers, not really a good place to look. Anyway, that was it. So I was and I've had problems with my sleep patterns badly, right? So I got in last night, got to about 7:30, and what happens is when I come down and do the studio, I've got the studio light straight on front of me, two other lights on there, right? And because of the lighting, I think it just wakes my mind back up. I do a show, go to lay down, get ready, go to bed and all that, but your mind's alight and it thinks it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and it don't allow you to go to sleep. So last night, because I was trying to switch my patterns back and get some proper sleep again, I got to about 7:30 and I was falling asleep. So instead, I just switched all the lights off and slept, and then slept all the way through till about, I can't remember what time it was, about 8 o'clock the next morning. And if I hadn't done that, I would have been awake all night. So we'll see what happens tonight because I've got the lights right in my face. It's awkward with lighting. Especially in the evening like it is now, you're either there or you're not there. But there you go. And there's some other things that I'm going to talk to you about. So don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe, do as much as you can. Now, one of the things that I want to talk to you about tonight, and I do want to be covering it as much as I possibly can. If I could be up there and sitting in the inquiry, I would be. And that is the rape inquiry that's been funded, publicly funded, right? And they are gathering evidence, and Rupert Lowe and his team have said that they will be talking about private prosecutions. So I'm going to be going through it, and it's going to be some of the things that are being said by the witnesses, the survivors, in other words, the young women. And I'm sure there's young boys out there have also been raped, and you're not hearing about that side of it yet. Their family members, fathers, mothers, are talking about what happened. Not just the inaction of the police, but where the police have you can't say anything else. They've literally aided the rape and torture of white English working class girls, right? And there's a few things I'm going to have to say about that, but I do want to start going through it. But there's been and again, this is the power of social media, right? So I want people to understand that their voice is carrying and is being heard. For some reason, this thing isn't working properly, so I'm going to see if it works again now. Only because it regulates my hearing. Let's see if that's worked. No, it's gone off. I won't do anything with that in a minute, but I will try and clear it while I'm on it, while I'm talking to you. Let's see if it works, and then I'm gonna see how far it goes. This should be fun. I'm sure you're all highly interested in my suffering the aggravation of a hearing aid. If you don't do it, clean it. I can't. It sounds like I'm underwater, so it sounds like there's something wrong with what. Only because, oh, come on, screw back in. It's a bit weird. Let's see if that works. Right, put that back in. If I don't do it, it sounds weird. Now I can hear again. I can hear it bleeping in mural. Okay, right, blimey, that's blasted me. That's what I mean. It helps me to regulate. So touch wood, it'll be working all right. So getting back to the rape inquiry, etc. There's been a lot of stuff said today, and I'm going to take you through some of that and some other bits and pieces. And I'm hoping you'll all understand something from what I'm going to show you. The rape and inquiry ex account and ex post have started to highlight what some of the survivors have said, and that is that they wasn't just raped, they were tortured, right? Well, rape is torture, right? It's a known method of torture, right? Torture isn't what you're led to believe, right? So the standard belief is torture means I need information from you, so I'm going to pull your fingernails out, or I'm going to hurt you until you tell me what I need you to tell me. You will tell me, right? That is just a fraction of what torture is. Torture is psychological harm or violence, the cause of pain to an individual by either a state official or a person doing it where the state has acquiesced, omitted, consented, or acted, right? And I'm specifically talking about the Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture. What's so important about that? Well, the importance about that is there's another section called Section 135, which should not exist in law. The international community, I'm sure, doesn't know it exists. And it is a state veto on anyone bringing a private or public prosecution on torture. So the state actually can stop itself being prosecuted for torture, right? Which is wrong, right? Bearing in mind that the Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture, was enacted after the UNCAT, United Nations Convention Against Torture, was ratified in 1984, I believe, by the British. And that means they ratified the process in which, if there was any interference by the state, torture could be prosecuted criminally in another ratifying nation, right? And one of the other ratifying nations is the United States of America. It has to be approved by the Attorney General, right? But it can be put before anywhere in the US. So let's say Texas, because Texas is the most closely aligned with the common law system of England. In fact, it adopted the common law in its entirety and English law in 1836 when it became a republic. So all I want is people to understand that universal jurisdiction was agreed to, and the ultimate agreement was with the United Nations Convention Against Torture, was that they not only ratified it, but they brought it into domestic law in 1988 with the Criminal Justice Act. And again, so if once people understand that everything is there, but people don't know it exists, it's a bit like our Constitution. People are not being told, they're not being educated. And the people who are trying to hide this are the British establishment, right? All of a sudden, Rupert Lowe and his team have started to highlight exactly what we've been talking about. Now, myself and you, right, don't want recognition, right? That's not what this is about. This is about education. Like I've said in the past, if I die a pauper, but I've done everything I possibly can to save England, I'd be happy with that. My life would be fulfilled. Even if I was mentioned in 50 years' time or 100 years' time in some form of dispatch to say, actually, this guy was talking about the Constitution then, right? Do I do it for that? No, not at all. But in my lifetime, with the assistance of this audience, meaning every single one of you that has been promoting the existence of law, English law, that can be prosecuted privately in England, namely the Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture, and universal jurisdiction, so it can be brought in the United States of America as a trial basis, right? And their justice is there, but you need to pursue it, and this is just telling the audience what I personally believe: the power of social media, and I'm not talking about the alternative media mob, right? You know, the ones that are part of the British establishment. They don't want to talk to anyone about torture, right? They certainly, because, and let me just make sure I'm clear on this, right? If there's a single person in England that is tried for torture and found guilty, no asylum seekers, whether they be refugees or political asylum seekers, can or allowed internationally to go to England, right? Because you're basically struck out of the system. So some people would look at that, Rupert Lowe and maybe his team would say, hang on a minute, so you're telling me if we can get one successful prosecution for torture, they couldn't send refugees to England, correct? because you can only send refugees to a safe country. And a safe country that has even got one recorded successful torture trial against them is not a safe country, right? It backfires on them in more than one way, right? So I just want everyone to know that. And I want everyone to understand. We are the people who have been talking about that. Anyone else done it? Did anyone else print it on their leaflets for an election and then have the Royal Mail dispose of all 44,600 leaflets because it was on there spelling it out? Because they didn't want them leaflets going into people's doors and they read that and go, wow, this fella's going to say this in Parliament and push this forward, right? So all I'm saying is this audience, it's not just me, right? I just want to make sure everyone gets that. I am just an ordinary, everyday person, right? There's nothing special about me. I'm a working person that is self-educated through real law books, right? Old law books telling us what the real law is, right? Before the communists got their hands on the education system and through the slow march through the institutions, and then stopped educating people on it. And again, early 1970s, what happened? We went into the European Union unlawfully against the English Bill of Rights Supremacy Clause, right? They don't want people to know that. And then when you get an ordinary, everyday people standing up, do we know if Dee is showing up tonight? Is everyone seeing and hearing me? Someone's saying that they don't know if I'm on there or not. And by the way, I'm going to have a look. Can you see that? What do you think of pouring that pint? That's the nuts, isn't it? I don't want a single drop to get away. This is this funny can thing, right, that my mate showed me. And it is superb. Let's turn that power off again. There you go. No, me. I'll end up knocking it over. Let's put that, hang on a minute. And by the way, look at these lovely little socks. I've got to put these away again there. And a thank you to Moira, Minnie Mouse. I don't know if she's still watching, but she's bought me a pair of... This house is freezing, by the way, at the moment. I can't put the heating on. It's too much. It's too expensive, right? But bought me a pair of... Inside, they've got like wool, but you can walk about. They've got things on the feet. They're like little boot socks. I don't know if everyone's seen the seat. Well, I sleep in the things, right? They keep my feet warm. I was like, so just to say thank you for that. So I do get these little gifts and wear them. There you go. Starting again. Good evening, DD and fellow patriots. How you doing that? Everyone's seeing and hearing, mate. Good. Because we're going to go through some of this stuff. So now I've said this, right, it's my honest and sincere belief that the reason why people have, and this is why it's so important you keep promoting it, right, that people like Rupert Lowe and his team see what it is that we're saying and expressing to people, right, and they should get there, right. Slimming, good evening. Who else is out there? It sure is, and rightly, Ball needs to squeeze in ECP membership link, and I like in those we're done Minnie Mouse, the good Prezi. I like in those. Well done, Minnie Mouse, a good Prezi. No, it was a good Prezi. And the point is, so where your feet get cold, right? You can wear them, and they are the absolute nuts. Is Minnie Mouse out there? Minnie Mouse, are you out there? I can't see you. But credit where it's due. That was a fantastic present. I bet she was probably thinking to herself, he'll never wear these. And I was like, yeah. And I put, my feet were so cold. Yeah, no, I loved them. I love them. They're literally sitting next to my bed. When I get in bed, I go, like it's like being, you don't need to be proper wrapped up. You just need the extremities wrapped up. Oh yeah, no, I'll just see it. Thank you very much, Holly England. Right, so let me have a quick look at where we're going, and I want to show you this next part. Right, so hopefully everyone can now see me. What's this one? There's a lot of things going on in the background at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is go back over to this. I can show you some other bits in a minute. I'm just going to show you know, little photos come up on your phone. I'll show you a photo. Right, so here is. I'm going to go to the whole thing, but I'm going to show you this bit first because I think it's important. There it is. And bring it up on your screen, right? So the Rape Gang Enquiry, and then they've took out as a quote from this testimony. I don't think people realise, I think they think it's rape, but it was torture as well, right? So I'm so pleased that someone has actually said that, right? Because people need to be looking and speaking about this, right? So hopefully everyone can see this on the screen. It is distressing, right? But the whole point of this and putting money into it, £600,000 raised, is so people would know that this was going on, and it can start to be aired everywhere. There are some other things that I have been told is going to happen, which I'm not going to talk about, but it is good, right? So I'm going to read this out to you. It's on the screen. Hopefully you can see it, and my little picture on the left don't get in the way. Rape gang survivor, right? That quote. It wasn't just rape, it was violence as well. I've had a gun held to my head. I've been beaten so that I'm literally covered head to toe in bruises. That was when I was spiked, when I was drugged. I've had a knife at my throat because he wanted me to sort out 10 to 15 cars full of men. I'd get kidnapped. I don't think people realise, I think they think it's rape, but it was torture as well. I'd be kidnapped and I'd be locked in a room and I'd be beaten. I'd be told if I don't do this, I'm not going to go home. So it was a lot more than just rape. So again, I get very distressed when I read this stuff, but it has to be put out there. So what I'm going to do is copy that link, put it back in here, and I'm going to talk about much more of this as well. Right, so we need that retweeted and sent out as much as possible, right? So what I'm going to do is go back to this screen. I am going to go to the Rape Enquiry. There's lots of things that have been put out today, but this is the Rape Gang Enquiry. Again, that's on. The Rape Gang Enquiry. I do know is that there's certain people out there that are not promoting any of this and not putting their message out there, and I am watching them. I think it is very telling that they're not covering any of this, right? So what happened? How did it happen? Why was it allowed to happen? Right? There's the crowdfunder that was out there. The Rape Gang Enquiry. This was 14 minutes ago. The imams who run the mosque, do you think they are aware? Right, that was Rupert Lowe, MP, asking the question. Right, so let me bring it up on your screen. Rape gang survivor, they know 100% because my friend was, when she was 15, she was sleeping with a guy who was older. She had a baby by him, and his dad was an imam. His dad knew. And he got his son married and said that he was allowed to see the child. They look after their own community, right? So there you go there. Again, I'm going to play some of these, and I do realise stressing, right? So how many vulnerable girls have been trafficked overseas by rape gangs? This is a question that must be urgently explored, right? So we all know about trafficking, right? I can go into more details about a situation that happened in Brussels some years ago, and some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And one of the reasons why they want open borders is to traffic kids.
There were also some police officers that had conversations with these men when they were moaning about the police turning up at the house, and they said, if you get her to sign herself out of care, then we won't have to turn up again. You can do what you want with her then. And then that's when they started encouraging me to sign myself out of care so they could traffic me to Kashmir. They said they wanted to take me back to meet their families. So luckily I didn't have a passport, otherwise I might not be sat here right now. There were also some police officers that had conversations with these men when they were moaning about the police turning up at the house, and they said, if you get her to sign herself out of care, then we won't have to turn up again. You can do what you want with her then. And then that's when they started encouraging me to sign myself out of care so they could traffic me to Kashmir. They said they wanted to take me back to meet their families. So luckily I didn't have a passport, otherwise I might not be sat here right now. There were also some.
Right, so again, there's another one here. I'm going to go through these because I think they're important. These are some of the in effect, the transcripts coming out. Rape gang survivor, quote, I remember being with my friend and she lived in a children's home and they would come and pick us up from outside. And then the care home would ring the police and obviously tell them. And then the police would come out and they would call us prostitutes. I don't think the services, even down to social services, I don't think they really cared. I think that they had the same fault as most other people, that we were prostitutes and that we wanted it. I don't think they saw it how it really was, that it was grooming and rape and torture. They blamed us for it. It was our choice. And just to make sure I'm clear on this, that's exactly the note that Gordon Brown or similar sent out, right? He was the one who was stopping the prosecutions of these people. Again, I don't think people realise. I think they think it's rape. It was torture as well. That one I've already read out to you. Here's another one. Today, our inquiry spoke to Dr. Kieran Mullen, a Conservative MP and Shadow Minister for Justice. We will work with any MP from any political party to deliver change. Kieran Mullen MP gave a valuable contribution on sentencing for the rapists. It will be published in full. So that's this guy. Again, let me go back to the actual rape inquiry. Hopefully we've got this fully covered with the messages that come out today. Here's one. The Rape Gang Enquiry. Sebastian, a survivor, tells our inquiry about how the wider societal view of people that are exploited and abused needs to change. I agree.
Although there's been some improvements and some recommendations over the last 40 years have actually been actioned, not enough of them have. I also want, in order to get the change, then society's view and community's view of people that are exploited and abused needs to change. And that can come top down and also bottom up. It has to be both. I want survivors to know that they're heard and believed and they have a voice. Just because you can't evidence anything because all the evidence has been destroyed doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Right, let me just stop this. I'm not going to say too much about this because the person may be listening. But a certain male individual said to me some time ago that he was abused in a care home. And the next part of what he said to me was he looked at me and said, I'm not queer, right? And I looked at him and said, I know you're not, right? But the point being, he felt he had to say that, right? When to me, it was obvious. It was almost as if the abuse was continuing that he had to actually say that. He was a small boy who was raped, right, in a care home, but felt that he needed to add that he's not queer, right? That I take what that guy just said because I've actually seen it. Because the other person tried to talk to me to try and persuade me that he wasn't queer, right? You don't have to persuade me of anything. And the other side of this is people understanding they get rid of evidence and they do it on purpose, right? It's very rare, other than in murder trials, and even then they get rid of stuff if they don't want it there. This is trivial compared to what we're talking about tonight. But if you look at the elections and the petitions and the frauds, by law, they're allowed to get rid of the ballots in total, everything destroyed after 1 year, right? So when you look at potential offences that can cause the most amount of problems, and they get rid of the evidence, right? So that's pretty standard practice. Again, on this one, a 15-year-old victim of child sexual exploitation pictured with the man that raped her. People did not prosecute, right? Police did not prosecute. She will be providing testimony at the rape gang inquiry hearings. And this is Pakistani Muslim holding her in a room, etc. You all know what's going to happen to her, right? This particular one sent out today, rape at gang survivor. It started when I was 13. I was raped by probably about 600-700 different men over 3 years. I'm going to just make sure I highlight that. Read it off the screen. And this is what the British establishment, regime, etc., don't matter what the political party is, which means that the regime itself is at fault, right? And that is why torture trials should begin to make sure, and don't forget, Section 6 under the Act that I explained earlier is a mandatory whole life sentence if found guilty by a jury. The problem you're going to have is if you run them trials in this country, if they're in London, now 70% plus of the jury pool are foreign, right? And it depends where in the country, because of what they're doing, and they're flooding these migrants into other areas. They're then making them British citizens. They're then making them so they can go on juries, even if they don't understand English. That is all going to start causing serious issues, right? And it's one of the reasons why I support full-scale re-immigration, right? So I look at it in a different way to some of these people out there. I look at it purely law and order and constitutionally about our rights, etc. So let me go back and go through these. So Rupert Lowe has just said, I just met with a brave survivor who presented various images along with much else to our inquiry. I'm told this man was not prosecuted. The evidence was not sufficient. That's all I ever hear from the police, right? And the other thing I want to say to you is part of your council tax is towards the police, right? So again, if you've ever contacted the police and they haven't acted or not done anything, or the way that they are operating in the area is against what you believe the police should be doing, they're acting unconstitutionally. They're not investigating, because it's not for them to prosecute. It's the CPS. They changed that in 1985. All part of the slow march through the institutions and the piece by piece and taking the power away from the people and returning it to the state, or giving it to the state, I should say. So I just want everyone to know that you can legitimately stop paying that part and just say, I'm not paying for a police service when there is no service and they are against the people. It was very difficult listening to the testimony from this brave woman, rape gang survivor. Again, I've read that one out. It started when I was 13. I was raped by probably about 600-700 different men over the 3 years. Again, the testimonies that the panel have been hearing are absolutely heartbreaking. I've got to be honest with you. Rupert Lowe to sit and listen to this, and the others on that panel, I am immensely grateful. They'd send men in like a conveyor belt. Here's another one. There's a very big network. It's in Derby, Birmingham, there's Sheffield, there's Newcastle, there's Leeds, there's Barnsley. So you'd get taken to, say, Burton, and then he'd take you to a house, and then they'd send men in like a conveyor belt. Again, Rupert Lowe MP. Yet more testimony presented to our inquiry today stating that illegal migrants were involved in the gang rape of vulnerable white girls, English girls mainly, right? So again, these are English white working class. I am increasingly convinced that this is still taking place right across Britain. This is bigger than anybody realises. And that was sent out 9 hours ago by Rupert Lowe. And I want to express again to people that the current system of law, the way it holds a monopoly, that middle class and upper class people are lawyers and solicitors, right? People like me, working class, that understand and read law, are not allowed to represent these victims because of the monopoly and the system of the bar and the Solicitors Association or Regulation Authority, etc., conduct its business. And just to make sure you're aware of this, there is an Act of Parliament that further secured their monopoly, which was the Legal Services Act of 2007, which basically forbids and fines someone like me operating as a lawyer to directly take hold of a case, issue paperwork, do the litigation and charge a fee for it, right? Just to make sure you're aware of that, even if I didn't charge a fee, right? This testimony from Marlon Tagg, the father of the rape gang survivor, is very challenging to watch, but I urge you to do so. The country must see that what has been done to thousands and thousands of British families.
But she was great. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, she was an angel, she was amazing, because she really wasn't, because she was a character. Unfortunately, I'll never see that again, because what happened to her completely destroyed all that personality. But she was great. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, she was an angel, she was amazing, because she really wasn't, because she was a character. Unfortunately, I'll never see that again, because what happened to her completely destroyed all that personality.
This testimony was from Marlon Tagg. He's out there. The father of a rape gang survivor is very challenging to watch, but I urge you to do so. The country must see what has been done to thousands and thousands of British families, right? These are mainly English white working class kids, right? Again, by calling them, I do not accept the terminology of referring to these girls as British, right? That's not me making a political point. It's me telling them they are protecting their regime by saying that, right? That is incorrect, and they should be using the right terminology and stop calling these people Muslims. They're Mohammedans. That is the way that the English have always expressed who them people are, right? And a Mohammedan is what they are, and it is Mohammedan rape gangs in England raping English working class girls all over the country, right? Multiple witnesses have now presented testimonies to our inquiry stating that illegal migrants have been involved in the gang rape of, they say, British girls, English girls, right? If you want to refer to Scottish girls, then do that. I'd like to see how many, if you actually referred to the proper nationality of these young working class girls, I will guarantee that every single one of the people would, well, not every single one, but the vast majority, certainly in the 90% range, would be English working class girls. And again, there's another powerful testimony. I'm not sure if this one's already
we're between maybe 25 and 30, but then we're between maybe 25 and 30, but then as we met these, we then got taken to meet older and older people.
What's the oldest man that you met?
One of them prosecuted was, I think he was 44 when I met him.
And these are all Muslim Pakistani men?
Yes, I think I was abused by between 50 and 100 men. Out of that, there was only 2 that weren't Pakistani.
50 to 100 men that's a terrible thing that's happened to you, Fiona. Are you happy to carry on talking about that?
Yep.
So over what period of time was that?
So from the care records say 14, but I'm pretty sure I know my timeline, and it was 13.
Yes.
13 to 18.
In your statement, you say pretty much every single day. That for a 4 or 5 year period.
So my serious case review does document that I was missing on almost a daily basis. I'd say a good 5 times a week. I'd normally be there for a few days and then go back to the care home, because eventually when I was about 15, we got taken to a man's house who has been convicted. And at one point I was basically living in the house. He had a little small box room, and it was just had like a divan bed and a mattress and loads of storage boxes in there, and there were no bedding or out like that, but that became my bedroom. And I'd stay there for days on end, and then I'd go back to the care home for maybe like one day and then go back there for days.
So when you were there, it's a terrible question to ask a lady, but we are here for this. How many men would arrive? So you were there for 2 nights. How many men would arrive over a 2-day period or
so
3-day period?
They called it the party house, so there were constantly men coming. Anywhere between 10 and 20 men at any one time in the house. Every now and again, there'd be like just these 4 or 5 consistent ones.
That is highly distressing. Esther McVeigh, my old mucker, if anyone remembers me jumping up and saying, you're all fake conservatives and you're fake media. Rupert Lowe's independent rape gang inquiry started this week. It will run for 10 days and will be chaired by the barrister Graham Smith. I need to research him. Funded by over 20,000 members of the public. It will begin the task of unravelling the sordid truth behind these rape gangs. Who knew what? Who turned a blind eye? And it was alleged to go on for so long. Let me just check. Put it in on there. All right, my power is going on my phone, but there you go. Thank goodness for Great Yarmouth MP for putting the government to shame. Listen, it's not just about the Labour government here. It's also about the Conservatives who have allowed this to go on. On every watch, this has happened, right? It is the British regime that is at fault, right? And it is only people like us and this audience are assisting to bring that and highlight it to people, right? So again, I'm not sure which one this is. Scarlett's dad. Thank you, Rupert Lowe, for the opportunity to speak. We urgently need public support to end rape of children and to protect families from destruction. I agree entirely. It's day 4 of the rape gang inquiry hearings, and the focus will be on policing and justice. Survivors were arrested by the police, and the rapists were allowed to drive away.
In the serious case review, it was acknowledged that my criminal record should be squashed because I only have convictions aged between 13 and 18, which is exactly the years that I was abused. One of them is for possession of a lethal weapon in a public place because one of the men were beating me in my house, and there was a full night of horrible stuff going on, and he sent me in the kitchen to make him a pizza. And as I was cutting the pizza, I just started threatening him with the knife, and I karate chopped his arm with it. And he went, and then he came back and he started kicking the door. So I left the doorstep and I chased him to the car with the knife, and at the same time a police van pulled up. So one of the neighbours must have rang, they must have heard the screaming and stuff. And the police instead let him drive away, and they arrested me for possession of a lethal weapon in a public place because I left the doorstep. In the same...
Right. Did you all just hear that? So she's acted in self-defence with a knife and they convicted her. I believe they've now quashed that. But any barrister worth his salts would have used the English Bill of Rights and the right to keep and bear arms and other case law that shows you that you can have a weapon to defend yourself, right? That is absolutely disgusting what the police and the CPS have done. Today, evidence sessions focus on policing, rape gang survivor, and I can tell you now, not a single one of them men during that time that I met were coming here fleeing war and were scared of what was going on at home. They were coming here because they thought they could have fun. None of them were good people. Not a single one had any other mindset other than drinking drugs and making a girl and taking a girl, whether she wanted to or not. Again, you've already heard this testimony. They called it a party house, so there were constantly men coming, anywhere between 10 to 20 men at any time in the house. But one time on Eid, I remember him shouting at me, telling me I had to get friends out because his relatives were coming from Birmingham to celebrate Eid, and they were expecting girls to be waiting here for them. Mariam West's heroic efforts to deliver change have been ignored by Jess Phillips. Marlon, father of rape gang survivor. I asked Jess Phillips to look into this, and she completely agreed with me and said, oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that in a couple of months. That was 18 months ago. Nothing has changed. So again, all of this information is on there.
Is the fear of the establishment here, they've let this go so far? I mean, do you see a solution if Britain does what it should do and enforces its own laws without any fear or favour, which is what we would like to see? Do these groups of non-integrated people respect us, or do we have violence? Is it violence that the state here fears more than anything else now, having let it get, if you like, let the cat get out of the bag or the genie get out of the bottle, whichever expression you want to use?
Yeah. So is it bottom up and is it top down? And of course, the answer is it's both. And the top down is very much coming from center-left parties. Center-left parties in Western societies have abandoned protecting the interests of the white working classes. That's why they were, the Labour Party was for working classes. And over time, their attention shifted away from those working classes, perhaps because of the economic consequences of industry moving elsewhere, etc. But then started to represent these ethnic communities. That became their base. With Islam, and especially the advent, the rise of Islamism, came a group of people who are willing to organize Muslims and basically exchange their vote for power.
Right, so let me just make sure I'm clear on this. George Galloway is one of them people that was willing to organise their votes for power, right? He is now allegedly living in an Islamic country somewhere, right? And again, I have repeated on numerous occasions that the union should be disbanded, made void, and anyone committing offences in this country, anyone, should be exiled from the country, and that includes people like him who are Scots. Build a border with Scotland. Scotland is a socialist nation. It is being used to attack England. England is financing the socialist nation of Scotland. Scotland is lost, right? And the only way they will find their way back is a strong border, right? And don't receive any money from England. England should expel the majority, if not all, of the people that have caused this problem and are destroying our nation. It is the only way that you're going to save England, right? British is a legal fiction created by the British Parliament, and avoiding the British Parliament and returning to an English Parliament, you will solve that problem instantly. You solve the problem of the United Nations because we would instantly leave. You would solve the problem of anything to do with the EU because we would instantly leave. You would solve all of the problems with the World Health Organization, with the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and all of the other external nations to England. And the only country or countries that you should be doing any business with and associating with internationally are the ones who hold your same cultural views on what's gone on. One of those nations, of course, the United Independent Nation of America, or Nations of America. And I am sure that once we have, all we need is support. The people themselves could do this, right? So I'm going to carry on playing it.
And that power that the Islamists get is the ability to build, no questions asked, a network of mosques, Muslim schools, Muslim youth centers, etc., to get on with their Islamizing agenda. And so, yes, it is top down and it is bottom up.
Let me just interfere again. At the end of this month, on the 28th, we are doing a seminar in Barrow Furnace in Cumbria, where there is a mosque currently being built. That area has somewhere in the region of 97% white English people. And the reason why a mosque is being brought there is because it's being paid for by someone or something or some organisation in the background. It is now known that construction on that mosque has now ceased because they've run out of money. That coincides to USA aid and other financiers, the not-for-profit organisations, etc., organisations being starved of money, and they're lacking funds to build that mosque. But there's an old saying, build and they will come. And that is what they are doing with the mosque. They're targeting the highest areas of whiteness. And one of those places is Devon. Another place is Cumbria, right? And there are other places around the country that they have seen that white is higher than 95%. And that is why you've started to see on the media now that the countryside is too white and they need minorities in them areas, right? People really need to understand what's going on.
In addition to just the political aspect of it, there's also been, you know, society has been through the media, through schools, through all the cultural channels, they have been socialized into accepting or looking away from cultural expressions that are seen to be alien, strange, and sometimes harmful, of which the grooming gangs is obviously one of the biggest scandals and heinous acts of crime. So is it top down? Is it bottom up? Yes, it's both ways.
I'm hoping I didn't interfere too much with that. Let me, inquiry panelist, how is your daughter with relationships now? Father of a rape gang survivor. Guarded, very guarded. She doesn't trust anyone. Scarlett is very clear that she never wants children or to bring children into this dreadful world. Again, hopefully we've got another one here. I'll put this on the...
What has happened to the Western world, and more specifically England, where the authority and individuals within society have been so scared to tackle such a difficult problem for the fear of being called racist?
What is happening is we've had, and this is on the academic level, and of course that seeps into policy and practice, but this is, we've allowed this philosophy called multiculturalism to dilute what was common sense nation building. So for instance, when the British was granting independence to many of our colonies, the first step would be to nation build, to bring people of different tribes and convince them to live under one nation with one banner, and then socialize them all in a certain way, which is to usher them into modernity. But paradoxically, when people from the former colonies come to Britain and other European countries, we started to entertain this notion of multiculturalism, which holds that these different tribes can hold on to their specific ways of life within this larger cultural context. And as minorities, they will get exceptions, they'll get exemptions from the law so that they can carry on practicing their way of life. That philosophy of multiculturalism, sometimes you see the slogan, diversity is our strength. Well, diversity has been our demise. And it is through this multiculturalism philosophy, I think, that we created an environment, an ecosystem that if the majority, members of the majority host society were to object to any behaviors, they would be labeled intolerant, bigoted, xenophobic, small-minded, and so on. And there would be consequences for that, consequences for people's jobs, for people's friendships. The idea of multiculturalism was,
how many times have I been sacked?
These people are here, we're going to accept them almost unconditionally. And that, I think, political correctness was there, probably imported from the United States into the UK and other European countries, but it became stronger and stronger. But I absolutely refuse to believe that it's only a fear of being called racist that informed some of the negligence that we have seen, the criminal negligence we have seen towards these children.
Again, evidence presented to our father, a rape gang survivor. She's already been raped at this point by a gang, and most of the gang members went to her school. Father of a rape gang survivor. She'd already been raped at this point by a gang, and most of the gang members went to her school. Again, there's so much information on here. So again, I just want to make sure everyone understands.
Can we explore a little bit more about the honour that you talk about in relation to women? How has that impacted onto young English girls?
So in these tribal families, the tribes that they come from places like Pakistan, but Middle East, other parts of South Asia like Afghanistan, North Africa, but also Muslim Africa like Somalia and other parts. The clan code has a very strict role separation between men and women. And any given family is looked at through the lens of honor. The honor of the family is governed through girls and women. And there is a very strict code according to which these girls have to adhere to be considered, for that family to be considered honorable. And if that honor is breached, then there are massive consequences. I'll give you an example of two of them. One is if the female breaches that honor, she has to deal with the consequences of, for instance, an honor killing, which is the ultimate punishment. But another example is in these tribes and clans, you have so-called strong clans. That means they have a large group of fighting age men, and they can retaliate. So if the honor is breached by a male from a different clan or a weaker clan, then punishment and retaliation will follow. If those conditions are absent, if there is no retaliation to be feared, then males, not all of them, but some of them feel encouraged to go out and breach the honor of the clans and the tribes and the outgroups that they consider weak.
Can we explore a little bit more?
Good morning. This is the first day of the Rape Gang Enquiry, an inquiry that has been funded entirely by donations from members of the public. It is a matter of public record that Muslim gangs have been targeting white English girls. The Casey report of 2025, which looked at child sexual exploitation, stated that disproportionate numbers of men from Asian ethnic backgrounds were amongst the suspects of group-based child sexual exploitation. Baroness Casey went on to quote a number of local reports, which indicated that a significant proportion of people convicted were of Pakistani and or Muslim heritage. There is evidence that shows that there have been rape gangs operating in towns and cities up and down the country. Indeed, the problem of the sexual abuse of children by these gangs has been known for some time. For example, the Labour MP Anne Cryer first acknowledged that there was a problem at the turn of the century. Jack Straw, the former Home Secretary, brought attention to the problem in 2011. There were public indications that there was a problem as far back as the 1990s, and the historic crimes may well date back to before then. It is clear that such egregious crimes impose a burden on a society to investigate fully what has happened in terms of the crimes committed and also in terms of the failures of the institutions who are meant to protect our young people. The failures of the state and the failures of the society as a whole must be investigated. In a healthy society, the burden extends to all of us to resolve, to ensure that action is taken to prevent such heinous crimes from happening. Indeed, it is a matter of public record that the crimes are still taking place, with some of the perpetrators still being brought in front of the courts in recent times. There has been a lack of political will to fully investigate and get to the bottom of what has happened. The Labour Party initially refused to have a public inquiry, and only after much pressure finally succumbed and decided to put an inquiry in place. However, that inquiry will not take place for a number of years, and many have expressed scepticism over whether it will take place at all. The Conservative Party
Can you see me again now? Not that you needed to see me, but as long as you were seeing the majority of it. I don't know how long my camera went off for. Can't see you or hear you, but can see and hear the video. That's okay, because I kept stopping the video and talking. You may not have been able to hear my commentary. You're back, but blurry. Am I still blurry? I shouldn't be that blurry. Hopefully it's all right. Right, do you want me to go back to that and just finish that off? Right, let's go back to that and finish it off because it was important. Let me put that one back up on the screen. Oh, I can't do it like that. I'm going to have to do it the other way. Put that back on. Touch wood. If it don't work, I will shut it down and see you tomorrow evening. But don't forget, tomorrow evening, I am on 412 show at 9 PM our time.
also did very little about the rape gangs whilst they were in government. So it seems to me that a statutory national inquiry into what could be fairly seen as one of the most horrendous scandals of the long history of our country may not take place for reasons that could charitably be framed as political sensitivities, is one of the problems that requires investigation. This inquiry is survivor-led. Each day I will be joined by Sammy Woodhouse and one other panel member who will be an expert in their field or a member of Parliament. Each day of our inquiry, we will look at a distinct area of the problem of the rape gangs to try and establish the whole picture of what has occurred. We will investigate parents and carers and their experience, pregnancy, abortion, and children born of rape, whistleblowers who have not been listened to, policing and justice, social care, NHS services, including sexual health and mental health, education, taxi licensing, demographics, cultural and social issues. The media and social media and politics will also be looked at. This inquiry will be wide-ranging and nothing will be left off the table, and we will not be restricted by misguided concepts of political correctness or cultural sensitivities. That is a promise that has been made to the thousands of donators. I reiterate that promise again. We will not shy away from the truth, and we're only interested in the pursuit of justice. We will be endeavouring to tell the whole unvarnished truth. We will have survivors come in every day of the inquiry, and we will give them a platform that has been so badly lacking over the whole period of this scandal. Whilst it is known that these crimes have taken place, the full scale and nature of the crimes are not widely known. We will make sure the true horror of what has taken place will now, at long last, be a matter of the public record. It must be remembered that we do not have statutory powers to compel witnesses to come forward. Everyone who appears will be a volunteer. We are heartened by the response we have had. As well as survivors, we have politicians, whistleblowers, experts, family members of the survivors, and more providing evidence. There are a few in prominent positions who have declined the invitation to come and give evidence. That seems strange to me. It's surely incumbent on everyone in society to do all they can to ensure that this terrible scourge in our country is removed. The lack of willingness to give witness testimony is evidence in of itself that will be weighed in the balance if accusations are made against certain individuals or organisations who refuse to provide evidence. I am conscious that the perpetrators of the crimes are the people who should take full responsibility. However, our reaction as a country must also be considered. When making recommendations, we will look at convictions that have already occurred and the sentences handed down, and make recommendations for prosecutions with regards to people and organisations, both for perpetrators and people who have not carried out their duty. It should be noted that it may well be the case that people in positions of authority with a duty of care may well have been the perpetrators as well. Why is this inquiry important? The country needs to know the full truth. It's clear to me from discussions and pronouncements from prominent figures in society that the full scale of the crimes committed is not known. The country needs justice. The country needs to stop this from happening anymore. We need to know why public agencies such as the police, social services, schools, and both national and local governments have failed so badly and indeed so catastrophically and failed our country's young girls and boys time and time again. This inquiry will come up with answers and recommendations. We need to understand as a country what has gone wrong. It cannot be the case that we as a country are helpless in ensuring that the rape gangs are stopped. That just cannot be right. We can help, and we will make recommendations. Indeed, take robust steps after this inquiry to protect the young girls of our country. We also state that this endeavour will be undertaken at speed. This is not an inquiry where we will make recommendations and think that that is our job done. Change must come. It cannot be right that another generation of girls are lost to gangs committing these disgusting and despicable crimes. Make no mistake, this inquiry will make recommendations to the government. These will come soon, and these recommendations will be clear. And we will bring private prosecutions if the state is not willing to act. I would at this point say thank you to Rupert Lowe for making this happen. It is clear to me that his energy and focus has kept this matter where it should be, firmly in the public's focus. He's drawn a line in the sand and said, this cannot continue. I would also like to thank the inquiry team, who have carried out a remarkable job getting this inquiry together. Nat Enderby-Shenton, Deborah Sudbury, Marlon West, Julie Ballon and Kerry Boone, led by Sammy, have done a remarkable thing getting this together on a fraction of the budget of most national inquiries. There are a number of facts that will come out of this inquiry that the panel will determine on the balance of probabilities. I'm acutely aware that the panel cannot prejudice future potential prosecutions. That is why there will be a short delay between what happens live within this inquiry room and what is broadcast. That is the right thing to do. We're not an inquiry that is a talking shop. We're an inquiry that's looking to achieve results. That means we have to act responsibly, and that is what we will do. It is also the case that this is a survivor-led inquiry. And whilst listening to the survivors, we owe them a duty of care. And it is right for that reason that there was a short delay before the broadcast. This inquiry will not shy away from asking whether there are cultural reasons why the rape gang crimes are taking place. We will be asking why the authorities seem so scared to take on certain minority groups. The inquiry will be answering many other questions on top of that, such as the adequacy of the law of the land as well as the failures of multiple governmental agencies. It's worth noting again at this point that this is not a statutory inquiry. However, participants have signed a witness statement, and there is a duty of candour. Honour and good sense dictates that we must get to the truth. This is not an adversarial trial. The nature of these hearings is inquisitorial, and they will be conducted in that spirit. There have been constructive meetings with all participants, and a thorough and ethical methodology has been used while dealing with these witnesses. There can be no idea of witnesses being re-traumatised by this inquiry. Whilst I feel a keen obligation to allow the witnesses to tell their story, their safety both emotionally and I'm afraid to say physically, because of the situation that some of them still find themselves in, is of paramount importance to this inquiry. There will be some witnesses who have their anonymity protected. This is the right thing to do. I do not believe that this detracts from their evidence. Safety comes first, and this inquiry will deal with the participants sensitively, including dealing with any issues that they may have outside of this inquiry. This inquiry will also work constructively with the government and any other bodies in the future. We have two goals: justice for the victims and to ensure this evil of rape gangs is eradicated from these shores. With that in mind, it would be short-sighted not to work with others to achieve those aims. Whilst it is a wonderful thing that the donators to this inquiry have achieved, we're working on a tighter budget than the other inquiries. We're working on a stricter timetable. We make no complaint about that and make no apology for the fact that we will be moving at pace. The speed of the inquiry will not impinge on the quality of the evidence or get in the way of establishing facts. There will be some evidence that the panel peruse away from the hearings, as I consider it unnecessary to waste valuable time looking at the documents that speak for themselves. I will be available to recall witnesses or speak to other people after this inquiry has finished. And we will film any future examinations of witnesses. As I say, I will be looking to move at speed and aim to have the report recommendations published in short order. With all that in mind and conclude, I reiterate, we will leave no stone unturned in our pursuit of truth and justice, and we will proceed fearlessly when it comes to making recommendations to this government.
Just to finish that, a mother of rape, a gang survivor. We've had to firebomb-proof our letterbox because we've had threats to have the house burnt down. She's had threats to get her throat slashed. I've had threats to get my throat slashed. This has been continuous for 4 years, constantly. So again, going back to the main screen, and hopefully you're all seeing me. Can you all see and hear me? Again, we need to work together as a team to keep talking about the rape and torture and the fact that the Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture, should be used. There is a process. I spoke about it at the start of this. And again, the more people that push that information out, especially to the rape gang inquiry, they will definitely get the message. So again, the seminar in the north of England, Cumbria, Barrow of Furness, is important. We need to make sure we get that information out to people. There I can answer certain questions in relation to certainly the rape gang inquiry, certainly some of the information relating to the English Bill of Rights, its non-enforcement, it is current law, and the fact that Sharia courts are illegal and pernicious in this country. Right? And again, it is the British that are not enforcing that. So again, I will speak to you all tomorrow night, same time, 8 p.m. ish. but it will be 8. I'll hope to get set up, and then tomorrow night we've also got the others. So we're long past talking, mate. There you go. Chuck Money, 1964. Good night, DD, and everyone. See you all next time. God bless all. If you wish to send Danny Dragon a personal donation, thank you very much. Justice for the victims and their families. And also, well, I don't know where it is at the moment. Let's see if I can go and find it. I don't think I can find it on there. I will be having a look if I can see it on my screen. Is that the one? No. Well, we'll go down there and try and find it from somewhere. Is that the one? There is another one that you can donate to. This has been operational for some time. For anyone that don't want to get involved with trying to send me money direct to my bank account, this is just another way of doing it. And I will put the link out. I need to start putting that link on every single thing. So if Tracy and Juicy and Lucy can make sure they send that out. There you go. Good night. God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow night.